What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 48 of To the Show We Go with Ed Hand and myself, Andrew Parker. We've had a little hiatus for the holiday season. We are back. It is the Zack Kelly episode. I really don't need to have an introduction here because I feel like Boston fans should know him from the bullpen the past couple years in Boston, and it is one of Ed Hand's favorite arms in the whole entire system. So, Zach, we're just going to jump in. We were talking a little off air about some things you were doing, but what are you up to this off season?
Throwing, being a dad, working out, pretty normal. Doing some stuff with tread. Just since I usually shut down in the off season, but I kind of shut down for 2 months in the summer, unfortunately. So didn't want to do that again. But just kind of doing that. Like I said, just being a dad. Little guy's he's a handful at this point in his life. So.
Yeah, it's so funny. The last time I talked to you in one of these like podcast things, you weren't a father yet. You hadn't made your major league debut yet. And then both of those things kind of happened around the same time. So we're going to go back like a year and a half now. But what was that like for you getting the call up, like first just getting the call up to the majors? Like what, could you take us through that moment?
Yeah. So. Well, I actually thought I kind of messed it up because you never know what's going to happen in September, because obviously when you're in AAA, that September 1st deadline is like huge, and it's like that's all you can kind of think about. And so, I thought I had a pretty good year up to that point, and so I was like, maybe I might I felt pretty good about hopefully getting a chance. But we had to try to plan for her to be induced just so I could for sure be there because I wasn't going to miss that. And I remember calling Abe's that week while we were in Syracuse and telling him like, hey, my wife is getting induced on September 2nd, and so I won't be here. And everything was good. And so I thought, I might have messed it up just because September 1st, the day before, is when the roster expanded, but I was going to have to leave the next day. But anyway, so yeah, we were in Syracuse, and I think I had pitched the first or second game of the series and just never pitched after that, and I didn't really understand why. I was a little upset about it. And then we just get on the bus, and we're about 5-10 minutes into this bus ride going back from Syracuse, which is not a fun bus ride. And Paul Abbott, pitching coach, just comes to the back of the bus. He's like, hey, Trace wants to talk to you. And I'm just like, all right. Now this is kind of odd. And I just walk up there. He just holds out his hand and said, congratulations, you're a big leaguer. And I'm just like, what did you say? He said, you're going to the big leagues, dude. You got to go to Minnesota tomorrow. I was like, oh, all right. And, it was cool. I just kind of sat there and just kind of realized what just happened. And then, I think everybody else knew because, turn around, everybody's, standing up, banging on the side of the bus, just excited. And so then, from there, I had to make the phone calls to the wife and make the phone calls to the parents and then try to figure out all the planning, how to get my parents there. My wife couldn't come. And then after that, I had a fantasy draft scheduled for the Monday off day. Couldn't do that because I had to be in Minnesota, so I had to reschedule that. I had to do two fantasy drafts on the bus that night.
Oh no! It's that time of year too. That's something I'm not even thinking about that. That would have been right. That's the middle of fantasy season. Did you end up having decent drafts? I'm sure that's not the priority, but.
I don't remember what happened last year. I'm in the championship this week in my other league though, so fingers crossed for that one.
So I want to talk about 2023. We got to see you in Worcester when you made a brief appearance for the Red Sox again this year, but it was your first time going back through, like you went from Salem to Greenville to Portland. You had every single stop this year recovering from that. So what was your experience like, I guess, getting to do all of the stops again in the minor leagues?
It was really cool, just because I had been to Portland and been to Worcester and was very familiar with those places. But then Greenville was really cool too, just because I'm a South Carolina guy, and so I live about an hour and 10 minutes away from Greenville, but I ended up staying at home and just commuting there for like the 3 or 4 days that I was there, and so it was good just to kind of get back home, because we were in Florida for so long, and just to get back home and kind of be a little bit more comfortable, and then getting to go up there was so cool, and just especially with the year that they had, it was really fun just because all the guys were locked in and having a good year, and obviously they get a lot of fans there too, and the facility is so nice. I ended up having a lot of my college teammates and coaches that got to come to that outing, and so that was the first time a lot of those guys have got to see me just in general, really. Not even just pitching, but just get to see those guys since I guess probably 2017. So that was really cool. That was a cool experience. And then, obviously the Salem trip was, was sick.
How much family?
Yeah, it didn't go very well. I didn't pitch very well at all. It was bad, but that was so cool because it's like, growing up, it's like I got to see all these guys come through there. Like I saw Rafi play there. I saw Bogey play there, and Rizzo before he got traded. And so it's like kind of a full circle moment. And now just kind of being on the other side of it was really cool. And like you said, just having all my family there, and just people from the community, people that I know, like former teammates, former coaches. It was so much fun.
So going back a little bit to 2023, you made the team out of spring training.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think that was going to happen when you got at Fort Myers, or like how was the competition for that spot?
I don't know. I don't really. I felt like my plan going into the off season was, I had a decent sample size of what I knew, like what worked and what didn't work, what I needed to get better at. And so just the off season was solely based on that. Like I knew I had to get, more swing and misses in the zone. So I tried to, all my bullpens were focused on throwing my off speed in the zone more, and just locating up, down, in, out, and just trying to get a better mix, I guess. And then my first couple outings of spring training were not great, just command wise. And I kind of noticed that's kind of what I did in the spring of 2022. I think it came down to just trying too hard, almost like trying to get on the opening day roster in February, when that's not really how it works. But from there, I just tried to, understand what I was doing and try to just pitch and just be myself, not try to worry about any of that. And this, that's not my decision to make. It was Heim, AC, Croc, front office, everybody. It was their decision, not mine. So, after those first outing or two in spring, it was a pretty good spring. And I think just getting that confidence and that success going into the season was huge for me. But then we got down to like the last 3 or 4 days of camp, and I'm just like, I don't know where I'm going. I might be going to Worcester. I might be going to Boston. Like I'm sitting there like, doing the math in my head. I'm like, hey, you never know. They could sign somebody today if they wanted to. But then finally, I think it was probably 2 or 3 days before, we had our normal meeting in the morning, and AC came in and said, hey, come talk to me. And took me in the office, had everybody there, and said, congratulations, you're coming with us. So that was a cool moment. But we had to be outside literally like right then and there. And so I didn't even have time to go to my phone and like tell my family that I made the team. And so I literally went outside, and by the time we got back in, it had already been posted on Twitter. And so my wife texted me and was like, "You really didn't tell me you made the team?" I'm like, "Look, that's not what happened. I didn't have time." But no, it was cool. Obviously it didn't go as planned, but
yeah, it's amazing how fast that information moves. But there's a picture that I remember seeing in the Globe. It was after, I think it was after the first game, and you had gotten hit a little bit. They may have had an early appearance, and it's a picture of like you and Kenley. What did he tell you after that first outing where you got hit a bit?
Yeah, that first outing was tough because it was like all the extra stuff added to opening day. My whole family was there. My wife's whole family was there. Like, it was my wife's first time ever seeing me pitch in person in the big leagues too, and so because she obviously wasn't there last year, and so just all of that plus everything, and then all of a sudden, welcome to it. Here's bases juiced, one out in like the fourth or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, and I was more mad about the fact that I gave up Kluber's runs and they didn't even put the ball in play by doing that. I think the first pitch I threw, I think I spiked a changeup for a pass ball. I scored. But anyway, yeah, after the game, obviously it was just I wasn't really like upset, like it's going to happen, but just like more so the fact that like I said, I gave up 2 runs for Kluber and they didn't put the ball in play. But Kenley just came over, just being a veteran guy, and he's like, "Hey, you're going to have plenty of outings like this year. It just happened to be today, but we're going to need you a lot, and you're going to be in more of these situations, and you're gonna have a better result, and just don't let this one swallow you up for too long. Just flush it and be ready to go again tomorrow." So, and like that was nice just because. Kenley kind of has his whole routine and like in spring training, and so I didn't really speak to him that much in spring, just one-on-one with me and him, but he kind of went out of his way to come up to me after that outing, so I appreciated that for sure.
So while we're on the leadership topic, we've had a few guys that were drafted in this past draft class that were down in the complex with you. And we've had Zach Fogel, Trent O'Donnell, a couple other guys, and they talked about you being like a good brain to pick and that they love bouncing ideas off of you. And especially when you got the Salem and Greenville, we've had Noah Dean and a few other guys also bring up your name about you being a guy that he was excited to be around. What was that like for you being in the leadership shoes for, like, I guess now that you've been up in the big leagues, you had the chance to be like that leadership role to these younger guys in the system?
Yeah, I think it honestly goes back to my, I guess, I can't say draft year because I didn't get drafted. My free agent signing year in 2017. There was a guy with Oakland named Daniel Mangden. I don't know if he's still playing.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
With the mustache.
Yeah. So he was actually in Oakland, or I guess in Arizona, rehabbing with Oakland. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, he's a big league guy, and all of a sudden, we're there and we're kind of out of our element, but like this guy is where we want to be. So let's talk to this guy. Let's figure out what he's learned over his however many years of pro ball that we don't know. And so it's kind of the same thing. And just kind of not really going out of my way to do stuff, but just kind of allowing myself to be a resource for these guys. And when they have their whole setup for like all their first week is just kind of meetings and stuff, just kind of understand the organization a little bit better, like the routines, and just get acclimated to pro ball. Because the big league locker room in Florida was only me, Mondesi, and Mills, and so all their stuff was kind of set up in there. And like one day I just walked, I didn't even know that those guys were there yet. One day I just walk in and there's like 20 guys just in the locker room, just all of us in a mid meeting just kind of staring at me. I'm like, oh hey guys. But no, it was it was cool. Just those guys are great. They're good pitchers, good players too, and just good dudes all around. And it was cool to kind of see them kind of do their thing. And then by the time I got to Salem, there was a few of them there, and so a lot of the guys in Salem were the guys I was grinding with in Florida. So that made it even more fun.
So going back a little bit, the injury itself. I remember exactly where I was when that happened because I wasn't watching the game. I was at a friend's birthday party, and I was just seeing everything on Twitter, kind of like, and it seemed like it was pretty serious. But then a few days passed, and we weren't hearing anything about it. And then it turned out that it wasn't like a torn ACL. It was like the brace that was in your elbow got separated.
The ulnar nerve did.
Yeah. Oh, the nerve did. Okay.
Yeah.
How? I mean, that whole process for you were emotional on the mound. What were those days like leading up to finding out what the injury actually was?
I was just anxious about everything, just because it was just so weird how it happened. Because I think I threw like 2 or 3 days before in Detroit and felt great. I had no issues, felt fantastic. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm warming up in Tampa that night, and like it just doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't hurt, but it's like doesn't feel right. And so immediately I'm just like, all right, maybe I'm just tight. This being in this dome of an environment for 3 days, maybe my body's not as warmed up as it usually is. But then I went out and I'm throwing in the game, and just like the ball's not going where I think it's supposed to go. Every time I lay my arm back to throw, I can't feel my fingers. I can't feel my hand. I immediately know something is wrong. And I thought it felt identical to what it felt like when I tore my UCL in 2020. And then, finally I realized, like, I can't do this anymore. But I also I had 2 outs, and so I didn't want to make somebody get up and have to come in the game cold, which I unfortunately ended up happening anyway. Sorry, Brazier. But I ended up getting a 2-strike count with 2 outs to, I think, Diaz. And I think it was Reese. He called a changeup. I'm like, all right, I'm letting this changeup rip, and I'm either coming out of the game one way or the other. He's either going to get the third out on it, or something else is going to happen, and I'm coming out. And unfortunately, hit him right in the chest somehow. But just immediately, it's like, all right, my elbow's torn. I know what this means. I know like everything that's about to come my way. And it was just, the most frustrating part wasn't the fact that I was hurt. Like, that's, I've been there before plenty of times, but just the fact that, like you said earlier, made the team my first full year in the big leagues, and thought I was throwing pretty well to start out the season. So just understanding that all that was over in an instant, that was just the most frustrating part. But then, like you said, then the following days after, I didn't figure out anything the next day in Tampa. Then finally we get to Boston. I get the MRI, and everything is just automatically slower because it's the marathon weekend, and so it's hard to get anything done. And it's like the MRI came back clean. So I was kind of surprised with that. I'm like, all right, well, that's great that the MRI came back clean, but I still can't feel my hand. So, like, something else is wrong. And they were like, well, we have access to another type of test with a machine, but we can't get that until Tuesday because they're closed on Sunday and everywhere is closed on Monday for the marathon. I'm like, all right. So we ended up just going down to Alabama to Dr. Dugas at Andrew's place, because he did my surgery the first time and did the same test that we were going to do in Boston. But did it down there, and then that's when we realized it was the nerve the whole time. So whatever, like they sewed the nerve up in 2020, I somehow broke through it. Don't know how. He said it happens once. He sees it like once every 4 or 5 years, and so I guess I'm just the lucky guy.
Don't play the lottery anytime soon. I think
Absolutely
you used up
not.
your
I'm
miracle
like, well,
shot on
hey, I was like, hey, I'm here. I'm here. I'm your guy. You're welcome. Hopefully, you get another one in 5 years. That's like that. That was like the most frustrating thing too. It's like, wasn't anything I could do about it. Like it wasn't because I sat there and just like didn't prepare or like didn't do my arm care or something. This is like a freak thing, a freak accident.
So I have one last thing to ask about the injury thing, and we'll move on because I don't want to keep talking about it because I know you're probably ready to get past it. But we had Noah Dean on, who was a draft pick for the Sox in 2022. He was in Salem this past year. He had the exact same surgery as you when he was in college, the nerve relocation surgery.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the hardest thing for him was he knew it wasn't Tommy John, but his arm was still cut open and he had to go trust that he could throw after the surgery. What was you've been through an injury though before, he hadn't, so I guess it's a little different, but what was, I guess, coming back from this one, was it hard to trust it again?
No, I don't think so. But I think, like you said, partly because I've had an injury before. I think the hardest part for me was trying not to push it, just because it's like I got surgery. It's my nerve. It's not like Tommy John where you gotta wait. You gotta be careful because it's a new ligament or like stuff's getting rearranged in there. Like they literally just sewed my nerve back into place, and so it's like I felt fine. Like there was multiple times like they had to kind of tell me to chill out, and like I couldn't do like upper body stuff for a while. Like I felt like it was like a month. I couldn't do anything, and then once I finally could, it's like I would do some like an exercise one day, and then the next day, the day after, I'm like almost doubling the weight, and like eventually they're like, hey, you kind of got to chill out. Like I know you want to get back. I know you feel good. But like you said, like Dean said, it's like you still had surgery, you still got cut open, regardless of what it is. And so I think I think I irritated a few people with my whole rehab and just trying to push everything a little too quick, but it worked out.
I did because you came back. It was, I think, the last 2 weeks of the season you were with the team. How did that feel to get back on the mound?
Dude, it was so nice. And like my main thing when I was talking to the doctor in Alabama in April, I said, what are the chances that I can get back this year? He's like, if everything goes well, like you can get back in September. So I think I remember telling you at one point, I said, hey, September 1st, I'll be back. And my first rehab outing in Greenville was September 1st. And so there's like a 4-month recovery. And I had surgery on May 2nd, first rehab outing on September 1st, so I beat it by a day. But no, it was awesome. Just like it almost felt like opening day again for me, and like it just because like I wasn't even around the guys, I wasn't even around the team during the season. Like I think I came back up for like 2 days in June or July, and that was it. And then I had my last 2 rehab outings in Worcester, and then we were talking about if I'm going to go to Texas or not. But then I think Kinley got COVID or something, or he got sick or something. I don't know. And so we were trying to figure out the roster, but so didn't go to Texas. Went to Lehigh again, and then I just remember like finally, I'm sitting in my locker like because I kind of know, right? I kind of know like, all right, my rehab schedule's kind of coming to a close. Like you can't keep me on a rehab assignment but for so long just because of the rules. And like every time Bushy like would walk by, I'm just kind of giving the eyes like, do you have anything to tell me? And so finally he comes up to me, he's like, hey, welcome back. And so I was just so excited. And I wanted to pitch every single night. And I just remember that first time I got back in the game, which conveniently against Tampa again. And like this, once the bullpen doors opened, I just kind of sat there. Like I always take a pause and take a deep breath before I start my jog. But like this time was different. It was just like I sat there and just kind of like looked around at everything and just like, wow, like this is like what I've been missing out on the last 4 months. Like, it just feels so good to be back. And fortunately, like you said, just I didn't care what the results were. I could have went out in there and given up a 5 spot, and I wouldn't have cared, just because I made a point to come back. I went through it, and now I'm back. So it was good.
I mean, was there any moments for you where you thought I might never get to do this again?
Yeah, for sure. Just because it's like it's hard to pitch in the big leagues, and it's like, I mean, you look at my whole plan for this year was like, all right. I remember having this conversation with AC in the front office in spring training or last off season. It's like, what do you want for next year? Like, what do you want to get out of next year? I said, well, I feel like when I debuted and like pitched in 22, everything was about like the whole story thing, right? Like, non-drafted free agent, Tommy John, released twice, which is great. I'm very proud of that. But at the same time, it's like I want to be a dude. Like I want to be like, I don't want to be like, wow, this guy's a great story. I want everything to be like, wow, this guy can actually pitch. Like he's a good pitcher. And so it's like I had that in 22. For 23, I want to kind of take that next step. And I think you saw that a lot with some of the guys that I had kind of came through the system with since I got here. Like, look at Wink, look at Bayo, and look at Tristan. It's like those guys had their year last year, and now this year they kind of took that step forward. And so it's like that's what I wanted to do. And now that I realized I couldn't do that, that was tough, just because it's like, whether you're playing or not, the game's going to move on at some point. And so you know how hard it was to get there, and then you almost kind of feel like you're back in the same spot. But it was nice it was definitely nice to get back, and just to kind of have those 2 outings to hang my hat on for the season and go into the off season with.
I'm gonna steal one from Ed here. We have seen quite a few additions to the bullpen with Chris Well and Justin Slayton, Isaiah Campbell. There's a few other guys, Greg Weiser. What have you thought of all the additions of arms for the bullpen?
Yeah, we're adding some guys. I don't know. I know Greg and I know Coop. So me and Coop were together with the Angels. For a brief time. So I think he might have gotten there after me, but I think we may have been on the same team at some point, but if not, definitely like in spring training. And I remember like in spring training when we went and played Tampa, caught up with them, and so been around him quite a bit. And then obviously Weiser, just him being in Scranton. I think him and Orr were good buddies when he was with the Yankees, and obviously me and Orr are tight. And so, got to talk to Greg a couple different times throughout the years. And so, great dude, good slider, good mustache. But no, I think it just creates competition, and that's what we want. If you just gotta push yourself to be one of the best 13 guys in spring, and then see where it goes from there.
I was going to say, with between Campbell's mustache and Weisert's mustaches, are you gonna join that club?
No, I can't. This is as long as it gets. It's as long as it gets. So
there's no shot.
No, it is. I was in high school. I hit a ground ball to shortstop and he overthrew the first baseman, and like somehow I ducked the first baseman turn. I got a spike right there in the middle. It's like it's a cut. I got like 18 stitches on it. It was wild. And so it it doesn't grow anymore.
Wow.
I didn't know that could happen.
I don't know. I don't think I could. I don't even know how to picture it happening. Like even in slow motion, I can't figure it out. But it did. I don't know how.
Okay, so we asked Schreiber when he was on if he would grow the mustache with Weiser and Campbell coming in, and he said he's going to be the leader of the Beards. So I'm hoping that you accept to be his right-hand man in that bullpen.
I can try. I might let it rip a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
I might try to let the chin rip a little bit and kind of keep the sides tamed a little bit, and then just see what happens. I can't. If I went full mustache, I don't think my son would like that anymore. He'd be a little freaked out.
Well, Schreiber
Just every
did
time you
tease
come
he's
home,
going to
he's
go
crying.
goatee.
Oh, I can see Schreiber with a good goatee. I can see that.
Might be a dad thing, right? Like now that he's a dad, you're a dad now. Like,
yeah, I think it might be. I feel like, but I also feel like a mustache is a very, very dad thing.
true. Also, very anti-dad, like pedophile thing as well. So it could go either way.
It can go either way. You never know.
Yeah. I will never grow a mustache again. Ed knows why. I grew one this past year. Trevor Story's rehabbing, of course, whenever I'm debuting it, and it looked terrible. Yeah, not good day to debut a bad mustache with a ton of cameras around.
I thought it looked good.
Trevor didn't like it?
I think he may have looked double. He did double take, I think, when he saw me for the first time, but whatever.
I thought it was a good look for you, Parker.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to do it again when like a big rehabber's come through Worcester again. Can't do that.
I do have one more question about your 2022, Zach.
All right.
When I remember you were living like you were like I think in Marlboro or something like that, commuting to Worcester. What were the living conditions like that month of the season you were in the majors, and how was like was it a big jolt to you? Was it a big change from what you were doing before?
Like at home or on the road?
On the road.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice, nicer hotels. You know, get your own room. Travel's a little bit better. Yeah, it was solid. It was a lot different than what we were doing. I mean, even in Worcester, like they take care of us pretty well. Like we're not staying in some of the hotels I stayed in, you know, back in 2018, 2019, in the Midwest League. But no, it was solid. Can't be mad at it for sure. There's some of them I walk into and I just like, I don't belong here. This isn't for me. I'm not very hard to please either. And so some of these places I walk into, I'm like, I'm very out of place.
This is too much, man. This is too much.
All right, Zach, I got some random questions for you here. You're a pretty outgoing guy too, and I feel like Red Sox fans get a good sense of like who you are through Twitter and Instagram and stuff. So I think it's a little different from some other guys. So I have high hopes for some of these answers here.
I like to think so. So all right, I'm ready.
I don't know if that's like the Chris Cotillo bump or what, like if he's like kind of saying your praises a little bit, but we'll give him a little credit. All right,
not
first
too much
question.
though.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's the end of the credit train for him. So you're a new dad. I want to know what your guilty pleasure was pre-fatherhood and post-fatherhood.
Oh, man. Ooh. So I played a lot more video games before I had my son. And also I was like very big into my daily spring training naps. And those just went out the window completely. I mean, I was like serious, like to the point where it's like I would come home and like my wife knows, like, all right, you're gonna go
Nap
take
time.
an hour and a half nap, and then we can go do stuff. But now this past spring, I didn't get any of them. It was unfortunate, and now it's like with playing some video games with my boys, just because they're still in Virginia. I'm in South Carolina, so don't get to see them too often. So just getting on with the boys, catching up. Can't do that very much either. It's usually like once he goes to bed, and then once he goes to bed, I'm just tired anyway. I have zero interest in getting on half the time, but sometimes you got to sacrifice.
Okay, that's a common theme with you and Schreiber both. Call of Duty's out the window once the kid is here.
Dude, it's completely out the window. But that's like the thing too. It's like just because you don't have enough time to get on there anyway. So when you do, you only get to play a little bit, and then everybody else is just too good.
Yeah.
Makes it not fun, you know?
I've noticed that. It's like I was playing with some of my buddies not too long ago, and I'm like, I thought I used to be good at this. Like back in the day. These kids are incredible these days.
It's crazy.
All right, so you're hungry and it's lunchtime and you want to go to I see your face right now. Well, before I go, what is funny here?
Let me have it. I got it.
Okay. Do you know what question's coming?
I do.
How the hell do you know that?
I know.
Okay, whatever. All the options are open. You're getting fast food fried chicken. What are you getting?
Okay, I'm not gonna say In-N-Out like Rio did because
Yeah, that was
fast
weird.
food chicken place for the In-N-Out for sure.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it doesn't count. You know? I'm hoping you don't have this one. I'm going Bojangles.
I love Bojangles.
But just because it's different, like Chick-fil-A sandwich. Everybody's trying to do the Chick-fil-A sandwich now. Everybody's trying to do the sauce with the pickles, but the Bojangles, just a nice Cajun filet biscuit. You get a biscuit with a little cake on the chicken, a little Cajun spice. Can't beat it.
Okay.
And really good fries too. Good fries.
I had a breakthrough, by the way. I did go back to St. Louis for the holidays here.
Yeah.
I got Cane's on my way back. And
how was it?
I think I might replace Zaxby's with Cane's now.
What?
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. I don't just because like they go for the same concept, right? They go for
pretty much
the
the
chicken with
same.
the sauce. They go for the same thing, but Zaxby's just has more options at the end of the day. They don't have the toast is better at Cane's.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
But the fries are also better at Zaxby's.
I'll also agree with that. And I think the Zax sauce has an up on the Cane sauce. They're almost the exact same thing, though.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's trying to do the same stuff now, you know?
We hosted a holiday party, and we had a gigantic dish of Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. So I'm still on my Chick-fil-A. I'm still pretty happy after eating all that.
I'm starting to have enough of the Chick-fil-A hate. I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, it's just one of those places. It's you know what you're gonna get.
It's very consistent.
Yeah, it's very consistent.
You always know what you're gonna get, no matter what state you're in.
Their drive-through system is 11 out of 10.
Yeah, it is. I'll give them that.
I've never done drive-through Chick-fil-A. Do they do something different?
What?
Ed, there can be 30 cars in there, and you're in and out in 7 minutes. Elite.
And there can be like 60 cars in that line, and you're still out in under 10.
So they're like In-N-Out chicken. That's what Rio really meant.
No, Rio's he's a biased West Coast guy. Not happening. Not allowing that.
I agree with that. I think Chick-fil-A has its pluses, but I'm gonna take Bojangles. I love Bojangles. The blueberry biscuits got me through so many mornings.
Good answer.
Yeah,
See,
no, I like it.
Hey, see who else has blueberry biscuits? Nowhere. Original.
Yeah, I will give you that. It's got me through some mornings. Third question that I had, it's at the tip of my tongue. I guess got too into the Bojangles Chick-fil-A.
You got to write them down.
I know, but I had it in my mind. Do you have any randoms for me while I get this?
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
Not Zach.
Zach might have some randoms that he's just going to bust out. I don't know.
Actually, it would be a good segment going forward.
I'm just looking at my questions because you've answered most of what I was going to ask. Do you have any? What are your plans for New Year's? Do you guys do a lot for that?
No, not really. We usually we kind of split the Christmases. My wife's family's in South Carolina and mine up here in Virginia. A little different now. With that Santa came to our house with our son, so we gotta hang out down there so Santa doesn't miss the house. But we came up here I think Tuesday, and then we'll head back on Sunday on New Year's Eve. Traffic's a little bit easier on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so usually spend about a week up here.
What did your parents say to you after you got the call of the majors?
Oh, they're freaking out. They were just trying to figure out everything because, like, mind you, like this was on Sunday night, right? Well, everybody had plans to be in South Carolina on.
We lost him for a second there.
Yeah, I think the volumes. I think I'm muted or something.
It was back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my wife called me.
Gotcha.
All good.
So, like, mind you, like this is Sunday. Everybody else had plans like to go to South Carolina on Thursday, right? Wife's getting induced on Friday, and so all of a sudden it's just like, all right, how can I be in Minnesota tomorrow? We got to just change all of our plans. And so they're just excited. Like, obviously, just, they didn't say too much to me there just because it was kind of weird because like I was on the bus with all the guys. And so, I don't know. It was just kind of had more of our conversation privately once they got there in person. And but it was special. It was just kind of weird, like FaceTiming my wife from Target Field after the game. But like we have a picture from my debut, and it's me on FaceTime with her, like holding the phone up, taking a picture.
That's so cool.
All right, it came to my mind. It came to my mind, Ed. Here we go.
Nice.
You went to a college I'd never heard of before, and I feel like maybe a lot of people haven't. So I did a little digging into Newberry College, and it popped up. It's only got 1,500 students there. So
I think it might be up from when I was there. I think it was like 12 or 13 when I was there.
I think my fiance went to a high school that had more kids than your college did. That's kind of wild to me. So can you do like give us like not a day in the life, but like what was it like going to school like that? That's a little smaller. You might know everybody there to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, like you pretty much do, and like when you have that many, or I guess that little amount of students, it's like all the sports teams. Like I think it's a majority athletes, and so like you kind of get to know everybody just through that. But like even like the first school I went to was kind of the same way. It was just a small school in West Virginia and went to a small school in South Carolina. But it's not a very big campus, so it doesn't take you very long to get to class. But I mean, it was nice. It's just the middle of a little southern town and kind of in the middle of nowhere. Town has restaurants, it has a Walmart, has other grocery stores, and got everything you need really. But I don't know. I've never really been someone that like wanted to go to this huge, big name school. I don't know. It just didn't really seem to kind of fit my personality, my style a little bit.
Yeah.
I like it small. I like knowing people, and so I'd much rather prefer to go into like a small school where I kind of knew who I was around every day instead of just going to a big school and seeing someone once and then never seeing them again for 4 years.
It happens. It's a real thing.
Nice class size of about 20, 25 people instead of 2,500. Yeah, I'll take that every day.
Yeah, I went to a big school for undergrad, and now that I'm getting my master's from a very small school, totally get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, big college football fan. We went to Virginia Tech. Syracuse was on a Thursday night, and we parked away from the stadium. We're just like walking through campus like a mile and a half, and I'm just like, I can't picture like having to do this every day. I can't picture that at all. Like at Newberry, it takes you 10 minutes from one end of the campus to the other.
Wow. It's a little different.
Well, yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a little overwhelming. I think going to Mizzou was like 45,000 kids. It was overwhelming at times.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
So I have one to finish us off, Ed. If you got anything empty in the bench here.
Yeah, I got one that I need some confirmation on this because the story of how you learned your changeup, I've heard like 7 different versions of it. And I just want you to once and for all explain to people how this happened, because I've been hearing too many stories about it. Where does your changeup come from? How did you develop it?
So what? So when I was in high school, I thought I was way better of a hitter than I was. And so I used to go get hitting lessons from a guy named Ed Goodson. He played with the Giants for a while. I think maybe the Dodgers and the Braves. But anyway, we get to talking, and he's talking about his son, who's like a pitching coach at a school down in North Carolina. And like he's a changeup guru. So I'm just like, okay, we go down there, and like we're sitting there like throwing this changeup, and like it just feels terrible. Like, I can't throw it at all. But like the goal of it was trying to get the ball to spin sideways, and like I kind of jumped in head first into it, because it's like, we're in high school, everybody's just trying to throw the nastiest breaking ball ever. Like every day it's like, oh, look at my slider, look at my curveball. Like it's never look at my changeup, right? And so I just kind of want to be different. And so this is before like any of these like all the technology and just access to facilities and like I said, technology is just absurd today compared to then. Because I mean, this is probably like 2010, and so like kind of I guess basically we had part of our basement like this, and I nailed like 2 or 3 like thick quilts to the ceiling, and it dropped down and like enough to make the ball just kind of stop and not go through a wall. And I just took a bucket of baseballs with black. I got my grip, and I figured out the spin that I wanted, and put a black electrical tape around the ball, and so I could just tell how the ball was spinning and if it was spinning sideways. And like I didn't care about what the movement was. I just wanted to try to make the ball spin sideways and see what would happen. And then all of a sudden it kind of took off.
How long did it take?
I mean, it's still developing. I still kind of mess with certain just tweaks and tinkers, but like the goal is still the same. The goal is still just to get complete side spin on it. But because I mean, grips come and go, and the feelings come and go, and but I mean, I think it's always kind of been like one of those things. It's like everywhere like I went growing up, like, and even like into college and like my first couple years of pro ball, it's like, all right, you got to get changed up, but like you kind of need to throw something that breaks the other way. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, not really. Like, I mean, if I like my changeup goes to the right enough, like if I can just get something to turn left, like I'll be fine. I'll piece it together. So, like I think I might finally have a slider this year. Working on a sweeper.
That's what I was going to ask, because you've got the fastball changeup combo down
TBD.
pretty well, it seems like. But that third pitch is there. I was wondering.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna be going to a 4-pitch. So we're in Baltimore, and me and Nick Robertson,
Oh yeah. Big. God, what was the nickname? Like Big South or something like that.
Me and Nick Robertson grew up 20 minutes from each other. I had no idea who he was. Like we play if his freshman year was my senior year of high school. I think he was on JV. Like if he would have been on varsity, I would have played him. And I had no idea who he was. Like I do a pretty good job of like knowing kind of. There's very limited guys in pro ball in Virginia from Virginia, so I do a pretty good job of like knowing who people are. Had no idea, but anyways, he's a good, good slider guy. So we're just messing around in Baltimore last series of the year. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so then I asked Bushy if I could throw it off the mound the last day of the season. He let me. And if I would have gotten in that game, I was throwing it the first pitch. Had no idea where it was going to go, but I was throwing it. But now, like, it's actually kind of turned into, I mean, what I feel like is a pretty decent pitch. I still obviously have yet to throw it to a hitter, but like, I think it's usable. And so like the kind of slider thing that I've had the last year or two, I think I'm going to try to turn that into like more like a true cutter. It's kind of like a contact pitch, and then try to go change up and sweeper.
going to be looking out for that in spring training for sure.
I know. I'm just like, I'm hoping like there's just one outing in spring training. I can just ask AC if I can just throw like 15 of them in a row just to see what happens. But at the same time,
I like it.
Like, do I really want to do that? Or like, do I actually like want to try to get guys out? You know, maybe like a live BP or something. I can just have somebody stand in the box and just say, "Hey, tell me if this is good or not."
I don't hate it. I saved the best question for last year.
All right.
We are 3 weeks away from Spring Vegas. I'm sure it's on your calendar circled. Winter weekend.
MGM, baby.
The old MGM in downtown Springfield. But 2 questions. One, were you at Winter Weekend last year?
I was.
Okay. I didn't really know you then, so I don't know. Maybe that's why. But Josh Winkowski shotgunned a White Claw with us at the bar. Very unexpectedly. And then he also, him and Caleb Orr ran tables there for a while. Is that something that you're going to get in on this year?
I'm not opposed. I definitely won't be a White Claw. That just sounds terrible.
It was interesting. I was surprised.
Hey, let's go like you make a Coors Light or something. Like a Busch Latte, maybe. Maybe we can work one of those in there.
Him and Caleb Orr ran tables though for quite a while that night. It was a spectacle to watch.
We might can dabble in some of that.
Okay.
But if the table's not hot, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I agree. So my question was that was a question, but my other one would be, what was your experience like last year being in Springfield for? I'm sure that was the first time you had been out to Springfield alone. But what was your experience like last year?
To Springfield, Mass. No, it was cool. Because we didn't do anything like that with the. Well, I don't know if they did. When I was like with the Angels, because obviously I wasn't with the team. But like, no, it was cool. It was fun to kind of, I guess, to see people that I knew of but didn't like know. Like, get to catch up with some guys that I talked to in the past, like, like Rob and Coop, and just some Red Sox Twitter, trying to dabble into there. But no, it was fun. The Basketball Hall of Fame was kind of cool. I had no idea it was in Springfield, Mass. And then the MGM was cool, and they did like a lot of good stuff. I mean, I remember it was like 9:30 in the morning one day, and we're just sitting there kind of hanging out, and all of a sudden Wade Boggs just brings me a Miller Lite. I'm like, all right, I'm not saying no to this. I can't say no to that. So
Nope.
Cheers.
I like what they're doing this year. They're bringing some of the top prospects as well, and a lot of the legends on top of you guys. So I feel like it'll be cool.
Yeah, it will be. So I got to know some of those guys kind of, this year's being down in Florida and kind of coming through. Like I got to and talk to Kyle quite a few times, and hung out with Roman a couple different times, and like when he came up for his award, we got to talk to him again there. But yeah, it would be cool to kind of get those guys. I mean, everybody already knows who they are, right? But just to kind of allow them to, I guess, just kind of conversate with people and kind of start developing those relationships personally with the fan base. I think it's a really cool idea.
I actually have one more question I need to ask you. Have you seen Cassis's dreads yet, or cornrows, or whatever he was doing?
Yeah, I have. You don't know what's next with him. Who knows? I'll be interested to see if he shows up with those. I mean, he could show up with a mullet. He could show up with like a Wolverine beard. You never know. Like, you just never know with that guy, which is great. I'm
fully expecting him to be completely bald at Winter Weekend.
It wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ed, anything else? Any other cornrow related questions or anything?
No cornrow related questions.
Are you guys going to be in Springfield?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my wife bought us tickets. I've never been before, so I'm not sure what to expect. But look, you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing you guys like not in a baseball stadium.
Yeah.
I do have a bone to pick with whoever sends out the invites. My guy Joe Jakes got robbed of one, so I'm a little
Ooh.
yeah, I know. So but I will be there, and
All right.
I'm telling Joe to just show up. So just hang out with us,
Yeah,
right?
come- Show up. Come hang with the boys.
Yeah. All right, Zach. You've given us a ton of time. I know you got to call the wife back as well. Don't want to leave her hanging. So we appreciate you hopping on, and we will see you in a few weeks. So
Love
good old
that.
Spring Vegas. So, but thank you for hopping on.
Spring
Always a
break.
pleasure.
Can't wait. All right, fellas. Appreciate it.